I've got to manage myself, I've got to manage my mind. The task is not easy, but to high heights I climb.
I'm determined to succeed, so no excuses, please. If you don't want success in life, then don't hinder me. Yes, let the whole world know you are a CEO. You are a CEO. I'm a CEO. You are a CEO. I'm a CEO. The time is here to celebrate. You are a CEO. You are a CEO. You are a CEO. You are a CEO. Yes, let the whole world know. The time is here to celebrate. Success is calling, so don't be late. You are a CEO.
Welcome to another episode of COTV Live. I am Charlene Caruso, and I'm here with...
Terry Fulton.
And we are so happy to be with you all tonight. We have another wonderful surprise replay. We're really excited. You don't know what it is yet, but we're super excited to be here with you all tonight. And so we are going to be watching a segment from New Year, New Me. It was an awesome episode. And so we're going to take a little snippet of that and watch it and chat about it.
Let's do it.
All right. So we'll be right back with you in just a moment. Enjoy.
Hello everyone, welcome back. And now we're gonna go deeper into New Year, New Me. Now, I wanna deal with some of the things that we're all faced with. When New Year comes about, we think about things we need to change, things we wanna improve. And we talked about the mindset in the last segment, but I wanna go a little bit deeper into the exercise of the things we need to think about when we think about creating that new me in the new year. So when you think about you and I, and I'll just draw this little figure for you and I, and some of the things that we have to first start dealing with is some of the questions that we should ask. And one question is, what challenges or pain am I having? So I think this is a critical question because we want to know, these are some things I might want to consider getting rid of, right? The things that are causing me challenge, things that are causing me pain. And then another thing we might ask ourselves is, what are some things I want to achieve? So this is another thing that should probably be considered when we're thinking about the future, we're thinking about the year. What's causing me challenge, what's causing me pain, and what are some things that I want to achieve? So keep that in mind. And you know, if you have the time, jot a few things down. Get you a little literal piece of paper or do it on your phone and really think through some things and be honest with yourself. No one sees it but you. But be honest with yourself. Speak from the inside, deep within, and be honest about these particular questions. So a few areas that I think are really critical when we talk about some of these things. So one area is money. So money is a critical area that we always have something we need to consider. You know, I'm just giving you a few areas that when we think about New Year, New Me, some things that we might want to, areas we might want to focus on. So we always talk about here at URCO, we have cash in minus cash out, which leads to cash kept. So this still, no matter how much you fancy it up, this is still what it's all about when it comes down to money. What's coming in, what's going out, and how much of that money do you keep? When we think about what's coming in, money can come in, as we know, through entrepreneurship. It can come in through career. It can come in through investment. Now, of course, there's gifts and things like that, but those are things outside our control. We think about ways that money can come in. We think about our new year, new life. We want to think about, are there specific things that I am doing or want to do that would increase the amount of money that can come in? Then we have cash out, right? So this has to do with my spending. This has to do with debt, where eventually I have to pay those debts, which will take cash out. So I have to consider that. Cash kept gets into savings and how much I really have in terms of real money that I can use, liquid, that I can use for whatever I might want to do. So when you think about this is something, again, when you're asking these questions, when it comes to money, you want to think about some of these areas. Are there things that you need to be new in? Are there things you need to get rid of certain things in any of these areas? And some of the newness could be even in learning, and not so much, that actually can be a goal. That's something I didn't know about any of these areas. I want to increase in learning. Now, another critical area is time. Time is another critical area, and a few things to evaluate about time. So how much of my time has been going to the things that I say I value, right? That I say is important to me. Another critical area is what things, where my time is concerned, need to be scheduled, where it's actually an appointment that I make for myself. And that could be things that are critical to you. It could be things that you want to do spiritually. It could be things you want to do health-wise. It could be things that are important to you with regard to your relationships. It could be something specific to things that you want to have a rhythm to in your life. And then what are the things that need to happen or do happen more randomly in your life? There are things you want to do, but you don't control exactly when they happen, but you do across the month want to make sure you give time to those things. And you might do it when you can do it, but it does need to happen, right? So you want to think about that. And then there's waste. So we have to think about waste. Where is time being wasted? So, and how do you define waste for your life? When you think about New Year, New Me, so waste is something that does not add value. So the key is waste could be different for different people because of what you value. So you have to begin to really be clear and define what is waste in your life and how much of your time is going to things that do not add value. And you have to begin to evaluate, do you need to increase or reduce things with regard to that. Now, considering this, let's go to another area. Another key area is health. When we think about health, a lot of times we have to think about eating. We have to think about exercise. And we have to think about medical. So I want you to consider this. When we think about the new you, you want to take a stop at asking yourself, hey, with respect to health, is there anything this year that I want to do differently concerning my eating? This is directly related to your health and probably one of the biggest things related to, sickness, disease. The things you put in your body are so critical. So is there anything, right, that this is eating or drinking, but anything you're consuming, you want to consider that as a health goal. Then there's exercise. So the old saying goes, a body in motion stays in motion, or something that's in motion stays in motion. The body has to move. There's things you have to do. What are some things specifically from an exercise perspective? And then from a medical perspective, sometimes we don't want to go to the dentist. We don't want to have those checkups, but these things are important, especially as you get older. And so what are some things that you want to be clear about that need to happen to be a better you this year? And we'll go more into this in a future segment and how to turn this into reality. But we're just talking about the key areas that could be very, very important. Now, this is a big one, and this is another area which is relationships. And Terry did a great job not long ago in a past show talking about relationships. And again, relationships is something that is so crucial. When we think about relationships and the people that we allow to influence our life, we want to think about what relationships are negative and what relationships are positive. So this is very important because we don't want to define a positive relationship by people that we enjoy laughing with, people that are, they're kind of similar to our personality, so there's a good mesh and agreement when we're with them. That's really, you know, we want to make that positive, but that's not really what positive is. Positive means that when you're with this person, good things happen, good outcomes happen, fruit is produced. It's things that cause you to grow, things that cause you to become a better person or to do things that are meaningful. Now, you can still have room for the other stuff too, but you got to have those people in your life that are helping you push forward and get closer to the person that you want to become. Negative is defined by people that take you further away from the person you want to become. So not, you know, we might think this is someone doing something, you know, or saying something bad, or someone who personality you don't like. Someone's personality that you don't like might be a positive relationship, because through that personality, it's pushing you to change in some areas that you need to change to be the person you say you want to be. So be careful. Someone that you think is negative might be positive, and something you think is positive could be negative. So when you think about this, these are 4 distinct areas, right? So we talked about money, and this is an area you want to think about. What needs to be old and what do I need to make new? We talked about time. It's another critical element. And then we talked about health, and last but not least, we talked about relationships. So this gives us 4 distinct areas that we can start thinking about getting really defined, clear, and precise about things we need to do to be a new me in this new year.
Welcome back. What an awesome episode.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yes, if you enjoyed that, give us some high fives, give us some emojis, let us know you loved it. Let's chat a little bit about what we just experienced.
Let's do it.
Maybe y'all start us off. So I really enjoyed hearing about those 2 questions. I think sometimes we're kind of just in survival mode. We're just working, we're living, we're taking care of our families. And then we're not always planning to stop and have those moments and ask ourselves those questions.
Right.
So I really liked how we can plan to do that. In my mind, I was thinking, I can actually plan to stop.
That's right.
and kind of reset. And what better way to do it than stepping into 2021,
Right.
you know? So that was interesting.
Those quiet moments.
Yes,
Those
that you talk about.
moments,
Yes,
It's good to have those because, you know, it keeps you in the moment, and it helps you to be able to see yourself as it relates to where you're at in your life. So you don't get lost on the timeline of Charlene or the timeline of Terry, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, on that timeline, we're finishing up another year, very interesting year, to say the least. For the entire world.
Just kind of a global pandemic.
And we're moving into 2021. So to me, there's 2 things that I've been kind of hanging out in my mind with is how do I finish 2020 strong? And how do I start 2021 strong?
Yeah.
Right? And so I can't start strong if I don't finish strong. So that's kind of where I've been, and it goes along with this segment that we just watched, because those are critical pillars in our lives. You know, when you're talking about money and you're talking about time and you're talking about health, and then relationships is all
of it
in that, right? And so it's just really interesting how the content that we have spans time and never gets old.
Yes, it's always relevant. I think that's something that I always enjoy about what we're learning from URCO and from the community and from everyone, is that you can't exhaust it. It's always going to be relevant.
That's right.
And I like what you said. We can stop and have those quiet moments, and it's okay to, like, you know, he said, be honest. It's you versus you. The battle is with you.
That's right.
So if you're not honest with you, you're never going to be able to really progress like you want to.
That's right.
So.
That's right. And subtly, this segment has a lot to do with the house, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, as many of you know out there, Charlene and I went through the 30-day challenge together, and we were posting all of our videos, and we were hanging out with you all. But that's
great.
the foundation, right? Your success IQ. But then there are 3 critical pillars on that foundation, and that is health, time, and money, right? And so these are all things that we really have to think about. And it was interesting when he was talking about relationships. There's relationships with people, but I kind of started to think about it from this way. What's my relationship with money? Is it positive or negative? What's my relationship with my health? Is it positive or negative? What's my relationship with my time? Is it positive or negative? And so I kind of started to see myself and kind of starting to pick apart those two questions that you
Yeah.
asked in the beginning. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited. I have my journal, so I'm gonna be,
Yes, sir.
taking advantage of this. So, well, that leads us right into our next segment. So excited. Okay, so this one is environment is everything. And so we're gonna watch a quick segment. You're gonna love it. And so we'll be right back.
Hello, everyone. I'm back here in the COTV Live studio, and we are talking about environment. So we defined environment a little bit. Now I want to get into types of environment. Now, there's a lot of ways to describe environment, but I want to focus on some specific types that are relative to what we're, trying to accomplish by using environment as a creative tool to, create the lives that we want. So when we think about types of environment, so I want to focus on a few different types. So one of those areas is physical. So the physical environment that we are in. The second one is social, to do with the social environments that we're in. And the third one I want to focus on is mental. So these are three environments that I want to, talk a little bit about. So the first one, when we think about the physical environments that we are in, so a lot of times we have to actually, understand the actual places and how organized things are, how clean things are. So did you know a physical environment that is cluttered, is highly unorganized, and, has a sense of, just kind of scatteredness to it, that it tends to make you feel a certain way? And this is why when we think about the places that we actually go, the physical environment. So this is a room, this is a car, this is a building, this is, a purse, this could be a bag, it could be, a kitchen, all of these things, a garage. And I know some of these things are getting personal, but those physical environments are important. So when we feel clutter, when things are messy or unorganized, it has a direct impact on how we feel. And so we want to consider that the physical environments that are around our life, these physical environments actually shape a lot of how we feel. So before you can even try to get to an outcome, you have to think about what is the environment. I've seen some parents where they tell their kids to go study. They go in the room and they go study, but they don't see that the kid doesn't have a good physical environment to study appropriately. So if they had a nice little area, if they can't afford to have a room of their own and an office or something, but there's a way to organize the kitchen table or a little area by this chair where they can be organized enough to be able to concentrate and think. So physical environment is very, very important. Then we deal with social environment, right? So again, when we start thinking about how we work with others and that bond between people, so that social environment is so important, because when you start considering the people that are around you, and these people are a direct influence, right? And so when you get all these different individuals that have an influence, and you start, what you start to do is you start to get kind of a relationship inventory. So each relationship you have and that makes up your social life, they are adding something to you, and it becomes an inventory that you carry. You carry some of the people around you, you carry their problems, you carry their successes, you carry their worries, you carry their thoughts, you carry their fears. Now, I'm not talking about yours, you got your own, right? But now you have to consider the people around you, you carry a piece of what they're going through. So you have to evaluate what environment is being created by the people that are investing in my environment socially. So this is why the people that are around our life is so important, because there is a relationship inventory cost. And you have to understand, is it become an inventory that is not good, or has it actually become an asset, right? So we talk about assets, this is another way of looking at it, versus liabilities. So when we think about liabilities, these are debts, right? Things that it always feels like we owe something. It feels like it's taking something away. An asset is something that generates, something that creates income, right? What's coming into you. I want you to think about that. So we want to think about that. How do we get the right type of things coming into our life? From a social perspective, this is very, very important, and every single person has to be evaluated. And you have to know, and that's why even when we're at work, there's a difference when you're at work and maybe you have a job where you're supposed to help other people. You might be a nurse, you might be a teacher, you could be someone that provides services that solve problems, but you're not looking at it as a social life. So you kind of have another bucket for that. So you solve their problem and you go home to your life, right? You can turn that off. That's work. But when you start allowing things in your social space, or some people who bring work home with them, you have to evaluate the asset and liabilities and what impact is that having on your social environment. Now, when we think about mental, a lot of times when we think about our mental environment here, so a lot of times, there's a big, question over how do we put that smile on someone's face. And a lot of times, when you think about, this little area up here that we call our brain, and we know where there's a lot of thinking going on. So believe it or not, the way you think is an environment. So again, when I defined environment earlier, I talked about people that can influence, but sometimes you're the person. I want you to think about that for a minute. So again, in my thinking, there's several things. I've got my background. I've got life experiences. And of course, there's other things, right? Like insecurities, fears, and I could go on and on and on. And all of these things are impacting how I think. But what you have to look at is, what is the environment that I'm allowing to be created? So we all might get a thought back from our background. We can get a thought from tough life experiences. We all get insecure sometime. We all feel fear sometime, right? But the most dangerous thing, and a big word I want you to remember, is the word pattern. So when patterns are created, now we're dealing with environment, because I've got a pattern of allowing my background to impact what I do whenever I have an opportunity, because I was hurt when I was younger by, things that didn't go right. When an opportunity comes up, I can go back to that place, and that environment begins to come over my thinking. I can have a life experience in a relationship. So anytime someone tries to show me love, I remember someone who hurt me, and that environment is created in my thinking. So before I could ever get to any outcome in a successful relationship, a successful job, a successful parenting, whatever it might be, I'm already blocked by an environment that I'm living in mentally. So we all have a mental sky. And that sky, we have to evaluate what is flying in that sky. And so this is what we're talking about when we talk about making sure that our mental environment is stable enough for us to be able to move forward and have the type of life that we want. So all of this is very critical. So I want you to consider, when you think about improving your life, think about that I have to evaluate what is happening in my physical environment. So first and foremost, what is the physical environment that I'm in? What is the physical environment? Is it organized? Is it clean? Is it orderly? Is it something that would make me feel good about taking the next step of whatever it is I'm trying to accomplish? Then I have to value my social life, right? What are the people? Now, I can take social, and even though we're talking about life itself, but you do, even within a company, have to socialize with the right people. If you're doing something in a specific area of your life, you want to improve your health. We talked about that in the last segment. Are you socializing with anyone who also wants to do that? That is keeping you, so it seems like a small thing, but you might have a friend that loves to eat a certain way, and you want to change your eating. And you start saying, I want to do it, but this person, you don't realize it, they keep taking you back because of the environment that they have and the way that they are. It's no knock against them, but you have to evaluate that if you really want to improve that. And then mental. You have to evaluate, am I self-aware of how I tend to think? And also remember, there's the mental thinking that I have, but also when I think back to the social, someone else's mental environment can impact my mental environment. So we also have to watch that as well. So these are 3 areas that I want you to keep in mind: your physical environment, your social environment, and your mental environment. If you have anything that you want to do better, you have to deal with these 3 things. And if you do, I guarantee you it will have a direct influence, and this time you have control over it so that influence can lead to the behavior that you actually want.
Welcome back, everyone. Wasn't that another awesome segment?
Yes, it was.
Give us some emojis if you loved it. Some hearts, some claps. That was just a phenomenal session that we just got to watch. What did you think about what we heard?
I don't mean to be redundant, but environment is everything. it really is. And, I'm going to go from the bottom up. I know he went top down, but bottom up.
Okay.
The mental space is serious. And show me somebody whose mental environment is unorganized, you'll see the social and the physical environment. Those are just symptoms, right? There's not this like totally focused, determined, happy, peaceful mindset running around with some fools in a messy space. Right?
Yeah,
it just doesn't work that way.
Right.
And so we really need to make sure that we are focused on having the right mental environment. And then be clean is great, and have good people around you, because what environments really do is there are seeds in environments. And environments are tending to it. Whatever seed that's dropping inside of that environment is going to grow. And so is it positive or negative? So that's what I got out of it.
That is awesome, y'all. This is so great. I love that we get to kind of just have a discussion about what we got out of it. And I really enjoy the environments too. And I kind of tend to lean a lot to, I'm a little OCD with my organization at times.
I didn't know that.
Just a little bit, just a little. But you have to even be balanced in that, because just because you're organized, you can be overly organized to where it could even cause mental clutter. Right. It could impact you even in that way if you're extreme in any direction. But I love the mental. I often think about Uplift because that's where I go to get, some mental clarity. It helps me in my mind. And that's an environment. Like, we want to find positive environments. They're not just physical environments. It's mental. It's like you said, it's social. What are you doing online? Where are you spending your time? Right. All of that impacts it. And we're just living day to day. And I think sometimes we don't just stop to take a moment and think about, wow, what am I doing with my time? What are my, do I know what my environments are? All of those, watching a segment like this makes me stop and consider. And because we don't think like that all the time, you need someone to say, hey, you need to maybe stop and consider, these things. So
start tilling the ground for you.
Start tilling that ground, because the ground needs to be tilled if you want to have some fruit from it. So.
And,
oh no!
Isn't Uplift an environment?
Shout out!
Isn't this an environment?
Do y'all see this? Do y'all see this?
Isn't this an environment? And so, it's things like that. I thought about that when you talked about, your social media and everything, like all of those. And he talked about the work environment.
Yeah.
So all the things that you're going in and out of.
Yeah.
There's going to be a mental approach, there's going to be emotional approach, and there's going to be a behavior that comes from that. Think, feel, act, right? And so sometimes I might have to change my environment if I want a different result. And so these are things that we got to think about as we're closing 2020 strong.
Yes.
Getting ready for a clear slate to go attack 2021 with all our might.
Yeah,
No
that's
limits.
awesome. That's awesome. No limits.
That's
I like
right.
that. No
Limitless.
limits. We about to step into 2021, y'all. We about to step in strong.
You got that right.
So, before we introduce our, but before we introduce our next episode, I should say, that's coming up next Monday.
That's right. That's right.
Now, if you want to hear any more good stuff about what you heard tonight, put it in the feed. Let us know what you think about the show. And if you want to hear more stuff, what do you want to hear more about the show? Today was just awesome. And as we move into Monday's surprise replay.
Another surprise.
I'm not going to tell you what it is. But we're really excited that we were able to be here with you all tonight to listen to what we heard and learn together and
Absolutely.
share together. This has been just outstanding.
It really has. And you did
Yeah.
an awesome job.
Thank you. I had to facilitate tonight, y'all. Which I love to do because I just enjoy spending my Monday nights with you all.
That's
so
great. Awesome.
all right, well, y'all know what? You are CEO, so
Between now and then, let the whole world know that you are a CEO.
thank you. Have a good night.
Yes, let the whole world know.
CEO.